26th. I'm Phil Kincaid.
It's a bitch, girl, and it's gone too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Lisa and Robin are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome to Lisa and Robin on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as YouTube. We are always up on iHeartRadio and Spotify and every place you find your favorite podcasts and radio shows. We are live every Thursday from 10 to noon. Robin is in the ladies' room. She'll be back shortly, so she'll be joining me. We also have another very exciting guest coming on at 11, and it is a very special person that I utilize. It's a chiropractor. Her name is Dr. Brooke, and she'll be coming in to talk about all the things that we can heal with chiropractic. And along with Will Boylan that came from the acupuncture clinic, she talks about nervous system issues and trauma issues and various things like that. So it's not just about the spine, even though it is about the spine. So that's going to be really exciting. We're going to do that at 11 o'clock. She's going to be coming on. Welcome, Robin.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
How are you?
I'm actually good. Can you hear me?
I can. I wanted to ask you, have you ever owned a velvet painting?
No, but I have a story about a velvet painting.
I can't wait to hear it.
Well, I don't know if I can say it on the radio.
Okay, is there swearing
is
or is there nudity? Or is there sex? Is there sex? Is rock and roll? Is it Elvis? What's going on? I'm so intrigued now.
Why did I break this thing the last time?
Well, it looks like it's still broken from last time.
Look.
It's a flaccid microphone.
Just swinging. It's just swinging. Anyway, do I have to hold it the whole time?
I hope not. We'll have to put
All
you
right,
to a
so
different
years
seat.
ago, Mom, don't listen. So we went to this party. And somebody had acid, LSD, and I took a half a hit. And I was like, oh, okay, because
is this the paper?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, because I
so
didn't
they
know.
rip the paper in half and they're like, put that on your tongue.
Yes. And then you let it dissolve, and I'm like, I don't really think anything's happening, and nothing's happening. And the next thing I know, I feel pretty normal, and we're standing in the kitchen. We're standing in this guy's kitchen. There's a whole bunch of people around, and there is a Black Panther. It's a velvet painting of a Black Panther. And I just, I went up to it, and I was like, that's so weird. Why is that in the kitchen? But I just...
Right. That's more of like a bedroom or a hallway or an office
somewhere,
or a study.
I don't know, but in the
it's
kitchen.
Not a kitchen.
Beside the phone, with the long extension, the long cord that,
That
so you can walk from room to room,
That had this weird thing that prevented it from tangling within itself.
Yes, it was our old version of cordless phones. Yeah. So I just kept rubbing it. I kept rubbing it and rubbing it. And I was just enthralled by this picture. Yes. Well, I woke up the next morning, my hands are black. Oh. I'm like, where is this from?
So that's
my one and only.
I love it. I got a painting recently.
Was it velvet?
I'm going to lower that just while you're making a little bit of rent. Yeah.
It won't even stay up.
Yeah. So I got this painting, and it has a leopard and a jaguar, and they're like coming out of a jungle, and there's two, and I'm like, this would make a good bathroom picture for me, or closet picture for me. It feels exotic, and when I bought it online, and then I'm like, well, there's something wrong with it, except I'm like, it gives me a feeling, and I'm like, that's perfect. It gives me velvet painting pictures, even though it's not a velvet painting. And so I started thinking like that was a thing in the 80s. And we used to go to my grandmother's house. She lived in Revere Beach. She lived on Revere Beach Boulevard.
Yeah.
And we used to go to the back way because in the summer there would be too much traffic. And there was a store that would open that just put all its velvet paintings on display on the sidewalk.
Yes.
And I remember being like, this is such an interesting art form. It was considered kitsch and like low
Like
value,
that and
but
Oriental rugs, like cheap Oriental rugs and velvet paintings. I remember in the South.
But I want to know, do people still have velvet paintings somewhere in their house? Because they actually are now collectible items.
Really?
Yes, because
Like
there's
Hummels?
there's like a story behind them that this started with some guy who was, I think lived in Mexico City, then he moved to Tahiti, and then he started this process, and then when he came back, he brought it to Mexico, and he would paint something, someone else would paint something, someone else would add a color, someone else would add, and it just became like America couldn't consume this type of painting enough because they were so vibrant.
Wow.
And they were so shiny.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were affordable. They were little affordable pieces of art.
all
so
the
now,
texture.
Yes. And so now I was looking online because this, and I said, maybe it's because there's a tiger or a panther. And I'm like thinking of that black panther coming out of the velvet painting, and he looked 3D.
Yeah.
And back then,
Yes.
that technology, we
Yeah.
didn't have that technology. We didn't
And
see that. It
kind
was
of texture,
fascinating.
yes, yes.
It was fascinating.
Unfortunately, we never got into. My parents never got into that.
Yeah, thankfully my parents didn't get into it either. But
Fortunately.
I was the one, I bought my parents a Starry Night giant poster and I put a frame around it and I made them hang it in their bedroom. I have always been pictures on the wall person. Even from a young kid, that was the thought of there's a blank wall and there needs to be art there.
Yeah, it needs to be covered.
And we used to have Spencer Gifts, which you could buy giant posters
Oh my gosh, yes,
and poster everything.
yes. Spencer's has changed.
Is there even a Spencer's anymore?
Yes, in the mall. Like I can't even
Is
tell
there?
you. So I like to go. So for Christmas, what I would do is everybody get like for stocking stuffers and stuff, get funky socks or like socks with sayings on it. And sometimes like Spencer's has weird and eclectic stuff, but it's all like remember they used to, you go into Spencer's and they had like all the lava lamps and they had like
If
all
you
these,
did drugs, you went into that store and everything was fascinating.
See, I didn't even know that at the time, but they had like T-shirts.
Well, 'cause we were young.
Well, they had T-shirts, but they had like the lip gloss in like the different shapes and
Yes.
like all that's like funky, just weird.
That we
Eclectic
had
stuff.
no exposure
or like
to
they
at the
had
time.
they had the telephone that looked like a big pair of red lips. You know, just funky, weird things like that. That was always cool to look at. But now it's all like, you know, sexy Halloween costumes. It's like a lot of stuff if you want to get for like
Punk rock.
party favors,
Oh,
like
okay.
for like a bridal shower. Like they've got like penis lollipops and
Penis
you know,
candles and penis.
Yes. Everything penis. You know, like
Penis hair ties.
yes,
Penis
yes.
headlamps.
And shot glasses and
Or
coffee
headbands,
mugs.
sorry,
Yeah,
headbands.
so it's like they're so. But do you remember like they would have like this incense? It was always like a fruity kind of a
Yes.
smell when you walked in there. Yeah, Spencer's has changed a lot.
Okay. I haven't been to one in forever, but it did make me think of that whole 80s time period.
Yes, I don't know if they have a lot of posters now.
They used to have posters inside sleeves, and you would
Yeah, and
turn
you just
it.
flip them. Yes,
And they would go click, click,
Yes.
click, because they'd have a metal band around them. Now we do that with rugs at Home Goods. We have that same
Yes.
flip this rug over, flip this rug over, flip this rug over.
Yes.
Go back a
Yes.
rug, go back a
Yes.
rug. That was the poster thing. You had your AC/DC posters, you had your kitten saying hang in there on a piece of rope, and you had all kinds
oh
of
my gosh, yes.
crazy things. My cousin bought me a dolphin that was leaping out of the ocean being caught in sunlight.
Yes.
And it was pink around the edges and blue
Yes,
in the
like-
middle. And she gave me that for Christmas, and I immediately hung it on my wall in my apartment.
Yes.
I loved my poster.
Gosh, my
So
sister.
funny, huh?
But remember, I don't remember the teen rock magazine that used to have like. My sister used to take and rip all those the pictures of
And
like
put-
Bon Jovi and like all these, you know. Well, she had like Slayer and like
Yes.
everybody, like Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose, like everybody. Like her wall was covered. But do you also remember she used to collect the porcelain masks? You know, like the
Yes.
Oriental, like that was popular.
I had one.
I
I
didn't
loved
like it.
it.
My mom got us one. She went somewhere. They went on a vacation and they brought something back, and she brought us both back a mask. And I hung mine on the wall, and I'm like, I don't like to go to bed at night because I don't like that
Yeah.
thing staring at me.
It's freaky. I then
It's the
put
same reason I don't like clowns. Like, it's just kind of
and dolls.
Yes.
Dolls after a certain age are really creepy.
Yeah.
I had that white porcelain mask, and then I had the mask that you get at a New Orleans,
Like a masquerade.
a masquerade mask, and I put the masquerade mask on the mask because I was a little freaked out by it, and that made me feel better. And she had ribbons down the side of her, off of her eyes.
I bet
And
it was
then I
pretty,
put
but-
some. It was pretty in the daytime, just like you said.
Yeah.
It was pretty between sun up and sundown.
Yes.
And then after that, I was like, put that in a drawer.
Yeah, put that away.
Put
I
that
don't
in a
see
drawer.
that.
I don't want that.
I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night and something's
It's
staring
bad
at me.
enough Jesus is watching me and God's watching me. It's got to
Well,
have this thing watching me.
My sister used to say, you know, so we used to live in this, like a ranch, and it had a front porch that went the whole length of the house. It was like a, you know, it almost looked log cabin-y kind of a feel to it in the front. And then it was like 2-story in the back. But I guess up here it would be like an extended cape kind of an idea. But she used to like try to scare me, you know, sisters, siblings. She would always try to scare me. She's like, you know, if anybody ever broke in, they'd go to you first because your room is the first one. First one down the hall and the first one on the front porch. And so I'm like, was always scared.
Yeah.
And I always, well, it was my excuse back then. But my closet was so full of clutter. Like, I always wanted my room clean, but there was stuff under my bed.
But the
so-
closet was free game.
Oh
Anything,
my
the
God!
closet
You
could look
couldn't
like anything.
You couldn't shut the door. Like all my stuff was hanging up, but you could not. I made sure that you could not get a body under my bed or in my closet. Because I used to hate coming home. Like
Yeah.
we'd all be out and the house was dark, and I would come in and I'm like, didn't want to open my closet door, so I always left it somewhat open. I don't know why, because you could still. But one of the reasons, like I always had clutter under my bed and in my closet. Like,
Yeah, I love that idea.
Nobody's
What's
coming in
really
there.
funny is when I first had my first apartment, I moved in with a roommate, and so you're living on your own, and sometimes she would sleep over her boyfriend's house, so I'd be
alone.
But I would have worked all day, multiple jobs, so I had been out all day.
Yeah.
And one time I had a boyfriend think he was being romantic and leave me flowers to come home on my
He like
kitchen island. And from that point forward, I never came home and didn't look under the couch, behind the couch,
Yeah.
in a closet, in my roommate's closet, under my... I had a water bed, so you couldn't do anything under my bed, but... And I remember being so freaked out that it was like, that's the end of that. And he was like, I'm trying to do like this romantic gesture. I'm like, nope. You brooch stalker. I don't know how you got in there. I don't want to know how you got in there.
You didn't want to know? See, I would want to know.
It ended up being my roommate let him in.
Oh.
And then I'm mad at her because then she was like, I said, so he gave you the things and you put them in? She goes, no, he was coming and I was leaving, so I let him in the house. I'm like, so then he was there for 5 hours?
Yeah.
And then left? And she's like, no, I'm assuming you just... And I was
Did
like,
you pilfer through all my stuff? Like,
this was just boundary crossed.
so when I first met Chris, I just said, you know, what's mine is mine. What's yours is mine. What's hers is mine. Like, I don't like my stuff pilfered.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of, because I wouldn't do it. Like for my first...
I had a privacy thing because my mother used to read my mail. I could never have a diary because my mother would read it.
Yeah.
So I always felt that, you know, your letters and your mail and all of that should just be
Yes.
yours. If you want me to see it, whatever. But I do have a privacy thing around that because my mother always violated
Yeah.
my privacy.
Yes.
There was never anything. And she would say, I remember one time she lied about it, but she said something. So I'm thinking, okay, so she didn't. So she just happens to know this piece of information.
Right.
And then she said this comment, and I said, you could have only known that by reading a letter someone sent me.
Yeah.
And now you
Did
can't
she,
be
like,
trusted.
reseal it? Would she open your mail?
Yeah.
So
But
I used
act
to
like
get-
she didn't.
Yeah. So I used to get upset when like Chris would come over for dinner when we weren't living together. He'd come over for dinner and there would be mail on the counter or something, and he would just like kind of like shuffle through it, or he'd pick up paperwork that was laying there and just kind of read it. And I'm like, I would get seething mad. Like, who does that? And I'm like, just was thinking about like, there were lots of ways when younger and even in my first marriage where I felt like privacy was violated. And I'm like, and the thing is, I don't go through your stuff.
I know. So some people are like, well, if you have, they think that about the government. All your emails are being read. Well, if you're not doing anything wrong, what do you care? It's like, because my business isn't everybody's business.
Right.
That's why.
To me, I feel like it's
I want to delve out information if I want to delve out information. If you're telling me something very personal in a letter, well, that wasn't for everybody, or you tell everyone at the party.
Right. Even though there's nothing to hide.
Yeah.
It was the idea. It was the attitude of like
violation. Almost the way the boyfriend
or the fact that they have authority.
Did you go through my underwear?
Yeah.
Or did you go through my jewelry drawer? Like, did you rifle through things?
Is it violation or authority? Somebody thinks that they have the right to
or control
authority.
Yeah. So your life isn't yours. I'm controlling.
Right.
I don't know what it is.
I have a right to know, or I don't know. And a lot of times I think that I always felt like, I mean, it seemed innocent. I mean, and I'm sure it is innocent. I think it was just mindless. Like he's just, shuffling through, but it just grated on me. And I thought about like, there were lots of situations growing up as a kid. You never felt like you had any privacy. And, in my first marriage, I think felt like a sense of, and I don't want to say something that paints him in a bad light.
Right.
But it felt like there was
almost like a parental environment to it instead of
just an authority, a right to. And I'm like, no, you don't have a right to.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if you're my husband, boyfriend, sibling, or anything, because I would try to respect your boundaries. And I wouldn't walk into somebody's house and start rifling through their mail.
Right. My mother was a rifler through people's bathrooms. So if she went into your house, she'd rifle through your bathroom. Yeah. She was looking for pills. That was her thing.
Well, I get
Can
that.
I pop something? You got anything fun
Curiosity to see, like, what
do you get in here?
Who are you really?
What do you get in here? But and the thing about me was, so if you've ever innocently went to look through something and caught something you weren't supposed to, your first thought was, wow, and that's my fault because I wasn't supposed to be snooping through this. I wasn't supposed to see this. This is something that's supposed to be private. So I used to babysit animals. I was young, and I would watch people's cats while they went away. I'd go down and feed their cats. And one of my prideful things is I'm not going to snoop through your house.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look through your drawers. I'm not going to look. You know what? Because I wanted the $50 to feed a cat every day.
See, it never dawned on me.
But I knew that was somehow a line that took me from, hey, we'll let you watch your cat, to I don't want her in my house. And it served me well over years. I don't go right. It's funny how when there's some people who, when they're going through an open house, open everything. And you're like, furniture is not, I see closet space. So when I tell people when you're showing your house, expect your closets to be open. But drawers, like that furniture's not yours and whatever. I have a thing about that.
I could see opening a kitchen drawer to see, is it a soft close?
Yes.
If it's not like this, but
is
no.
This a
bedroom furniture? No. Yeah. Bathroom cabinets? Nah.
Yeah. So, but it's closets. Like, yes, this is the size of the space.
Yes.
But I've always held that. This is important for me to have permission to be in your spaces, not to rifle through your things. I think that's a basic. It's the most basic.
Nowadays, you could have so many cameras.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if it would dawn on people to do that.
I don't think people care anymore. They're too busy being in their phone. I think that's lost. Like, even that argument is lost. I think what people would say is, I don't want you in my phone.
Or they're or they're just so caught up in their own, like, I don't have time to deal with. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't care about.
Yeah, there's no snooping or anything.
Like, I don't care about you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have such a disconnect with humanity, I think,
Mm-hmm.
that, they're not curious.
Mm-hmm.
They're not curious about
Other people enough.
other people in
You know
their
why?
life.
Because they probably have an onslaught of everyone's vacation, everyone's dinner,
I mean,
everyone's
if I
whatever.
saw, like, handcuffs or, like, whips or, like, stuff
you
like
open
that, then
the
I would be like,
closet, and it's like
"Oh,
ding, ding, ding on the
I'd be
everything
curious, like,
clangs on the.
who are you? What stories do these walls hold?"
I would immediately be like, "Get out!
Yes.
This looks like
Don't buy this.
no. I mean, like, get out of the house because you don't want to be like trapped here forever."
That's true. That's true.
This is a Saw movie in the making.
And then they ask you if you want to go to the basement. I'm like,
Nope.
That's a heck no.
Nope. You can go in the basement all by yourself.
Hey, so fun fact, not to change the subject.
No, change the subject.
But do you realize
we haven't even gotten on our topic.
I
Right?
know, and I like took a lot of notes too. So this morning I'm getting dressed, and I decided to wear my Gucci belt this morning, and I realized, left-handed people do things different. So do you know guys' shirts button on the opposite
Yes.
side of women's shirts? Well, I was probably in my 20s before I realized that, because I had never worn a guy's shirt before, a button up. So I was like, oh, even the zips different. So I'm putting my belt on this morning, and I always go right. I put my belt on right to left. How do you put your belt on? Right to left?
Left to right.
Oh,
'Cause
you
I'm
go
a
left
righty.
to right?
Yeah.
Oh, so
That's because I'm right-handed. I'm holding it in my right hand, and I start looping. If you're left-handed, you probably grab it with your left hand and
yes,
start looping.
yes, and start looping. So then I'm like, oh, the belt buckle's upside down, and I'm like, ugh. So I'm putting it on this way, and I'm like, that's so weird. That's so backwards. And I was like, wait,
Yes.
Is that a male female thing for belts?
No.
Or is it just a lefty kind of a thing?
I think it's a lefty thing.
Oh.
I think the world was so predominantly right-handed that when things were designed, they were just designed that way.
Well, that's, I was today years old when I learned that. Like, all right, I need lessons in learning how to do my belt. I think that one of the advantages for me being left-handed is I eat with my fork. But like a lot of right-handed people, they'll have to cut and then they lay their knife down.
See, and I eat with my fork in my left hand. I cut with my right, and then I move it over to my right and eat with my right.
Right.
Mostly. But I have a weird...
Right, but I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
So I don't ever have to lay my knife or my fork down.
Yep.
But when I'm cutting stuff for, like if I'm preparing food, if I'm chopping vegetables, I use my left hand. When I'm using scissors, I use my right hand.
Because they don't make left-handed good scissors. You need a left-handed
Right.
scissors.
Or I have them upside down and they're like pinching, like pinching my
Crimping.
hand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why can't they just make like universal handholds for scissors?
I know.
But I think there's one edge that's like a little bit sharper on the
Yes.
scissors than the other. But so yeah, fun fact about lefties.
I know, and I injured my right hand in 3rd grade, so for a year at that age, I could not use my right hand to do anything. So I had to learn how to write with my left hand. I had to learn how to brush my hair with my left hand. I had to do everything with my left hand. So even today, I will occasionally do things left-handed.
Yeah.
And John always says, why are you not using your dominant hand? And it's because years of training at that time, it's not always... It's always my dominant hand, except that there's occasions where I shoot really well with my left hand because I'm left eye dominant, not right eye dominant.
So is that
I'm
your
right
preference
hand
to
dominant.
shoot left-handed?
I can shoot really. No, it's not a preference, but I have to tilt my head just a little bit. I have to use my left hand, my left eye. But when I use my left hand and my left eye, everyone's always like, "Oh, she's
So
kind
you're
of
like that with the scope.
yeah." So I have to move my head and move my cheek a little bit, and so just interesting things that you learn. But I had forgotten that I had learned everything lefty because the minute I could use my right hand, I went back to my right hand. But it's still there's still muscle memory in there.
Yeah. So I cut my finger. I cut my finger years ago, and I had to use my right hand for different things. But I think I'm pretty ambidextrous for like certain things because I'm pretty good at fine motor. Because I play sports with my right hand. I can throw darts left-handed and right-handed. I suck at darts anyway. well, I wouldn't say I suck. But it's pretty balanced for my left or my right. If my right starts going awry, then I will switch to my left. I'm pretty good at that. I can golf with a left-handed club, not that great, but I could, if I practiced it, I could do it. I don't know about baseball, but
So I think we are reading the Year of Transformation. And I think one of the most awesome challenges, and I'm not finished, so I don't know if he has this, is try to use your not dominant hand to do things, like brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Or anything. Try writing with your left hand. Try doing, and you're going to have to, slow down. You're really going to have to pay attention.
yeah.
And it's going to be so awkward and uncomfortable. But if you do it over and over,
Yes.
and I remember every once in a while, it would come to my head of what if I lost the use of my right hand, and I would continue to try to do things with my left hands, even in my 20s,
Right.
because it was so informative to
Right.
all of a sudden have the hand you use for everything, not be able to
Yeah.
use it for anything.
Yeah, it's pushing. Well, it's being intentional. It's putting yourself in a situation where you have to be intentional.
So I used to paint my own nails before nail shops popped up everywhere, and so I really tried making sure that,
Yeah.
not have someone else paint your right hand,
Right.
because no one is around to do that. So it's like, oh, I have to learn how to paint. I have to be very steady, and I have to brace myself so I can use
Yeah, you have to anchor it. Even when I'm filing my nails, it's a little bit harder to do holding my right hand. Like I'm used to it, but it still there's like a little angle that I'm like, oh, or if I'm like trying to do my cuticles and you cut it, like I can't quite get the right, and I'm like, now I'm contorting my left hand to try to like get around the angle, and like, nah.
So are you a scorched earth policy person, or are you normally a change person, slow change?
What do you mean scorched earth?
I practiced when I wanted to be done with something, literally burning it to the ground so that I wouldn't go back to it out of a boundary issue. I didn't know I was doing that at the time, but scorched earth is actually a military strategy where once we take this thing, we're literally burning the bridge.
Yeah.
And I know in my family, I would constantly say how I wanted to be treated or how I wanted something to happen. And then everyone would be like, we don't care what you have to say. And so I felt like the only way for me to make this distinct change was to cut that, literally burn that to the ground, so I won't go back to the same toxic nonsense that I didn't want to be a part of. So having a young, watching people do that, my grandmother did it. My mother did it. There was a lot of scorched earth type thing of, there was not like, we're not spending time in that relationship anymore. That is like hardcore, major drama, hard line.
I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. I feel like I don't like to quit. And I don't like to lose. So, but also getting older and gaining some wisdom and insight. Like, not everything is good for you, and losing is not always bad. Or quitting. It's not quitting. Somebody said to me, about a relationship that's not healthy, was saying, how could you quit? How could you quit? And I'm like, it's not quitting. It's walking away. So I'm a little bit on so I feel like I give a lot of benefits of the doubt, because I do believe I don't ever want to lose hope. And when I still have a belief, I don't want to give up on the belief. If I still see hope, but once I'm done, I'm done. And you can't change my mind.
So that, I think, is where I knew I lacked that conviction.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, say 18, 19, 20 in there, I lacked the conviction or the practice for standing up for myself. So that was the only way I knew I could do that. Was if I left you so devastated.
Yeah.
There's no chance.
Yeah. True. Yes. That is a good way to do it.
I I don't want you, and now you don't want me either.
And part of me feels that way, but I feel like there's
like
so
with my
many
family, I was such the black sheep anyways. It's like, you don't even want me to be here. Let's
but I
make it
feel
so
like
that
there's
nobody
so
wants me
many-
to be
what
here.
makes it hard is there's so many tentacles that connect us, and it's hard severing those tentacles. Like when let's just use when I got divorced. I knew in my gut that we weren't right for each other. Like we're just not aligning. But then you have this, you have these belief systems that you're grown up with, that divorce is wrong, that divorce is bad.
You made a vow in front of God.
And yes.
Yeah.
And you have children and breaking up a family. And I was a stay-at-home mom for 8 years. So I was earning no income, completely dependent on someone else. And your life is going to change. So your life is going to change in what you thought as a teenager or as a kid. You're going to get married, you're going to have kids, you're going to have a house, and you're going to live the American dream, and and it's going to go happily ever after. And nobody tells you that even your happily ever after is not happily ever after. There's good times and bad times. Like nobody ever taught you that. Nobody ever gives you relationships advice that's real, I think. That, hey, you're going to have some struggles. You're going to have some hard times. Even I wasn't even taught to what to look for in a partner. It's just like all these things that I felt were a deficit growing up, or the things that caused stress and struggle in my family or my parents. I didn't want to repeat.
Yes.
And so, but now
So you learned what to want by what not to want.
right. Instead of being asked the question or being taught, like you just saw big bits and pieces here and there. But so going through divorce, like I knew this wasn't the right situation. We had tried counseling. I didn't want it to be ugly. I felt I didn't want it to be ugly. And there was a heartbreak because even to this day, I will always love him because just because things didn't work out, I don't want the bad things to take away from all the good we had, all the things that he taught me, and so see, that's a tendril, that's a hook. And thinking about, being in my early 30s, no income, 2 kids, how am I going to do this? So it's like, how am I going to do this? Like, this isn't good for us. This is going to be, how do you do all this? So it's scary. It's the things that make you stay in a bad relationship. Like, so it's not just easy. I mean, it's even in your job. Like, I can't give up this job because this is my retirement. How many women out there are just working for insurance purposes? It's just like, so we tie ourselves to these things instead of living. And that's part of like this book talks about, of not living in our true purpose because we feel tethered to obligations or things that we've created in our own mind and not having the courage to burn that bridge.
I was thinking it was interesting because every self-help thing has an all or nothing component, and all or nothing thinking is pretty bad. It's like, throw yourself in there. If you want to get sober, 0 alcohol for 30 days.
Yeah.
If you want to try an exercise program 6 days a week, no days off. There's this unrealistic expectation that it's all, you're on a diet, you have one miss up, screw this diet, now you're eating a bag of Doritos.
Right.
So it's I like what he talks about as there's multiple types of change. There's change that you create by like the Eat, Pray, Love, Elizabeth Gilbert version of burn it down.
Yeah.
Burn this down. This isn't working. Burn it down, which I do understand that.
Yes.
Then there's change that happens to you. Someone dies and now your life is altered.
Yes.
So you have to pick up now some kind of change. And then the third approach, which is the approach he advocates, is give stuff a try.
Yeah.
And do things slowly and methodically and little by little in progress instead of having expectation or outcome changed, changes that meet specific outcomes. It's changes for the journey.
Yes.
Is the way I would kind of.
Well, so listening to his book, and so into chapter 9, actually, so the book that we're talking about let me pull it up real quick.
It's called The Year of Transformation by Light Watkins.
So he talks about in chapter 8 or chapter 9, but he kind of talks about it like even when you're going to give up something, like when he talks about your first challenge in chapter 1, he talks about your first challenge is giving up an addiction. But he talks about it doesn't have to be a drastic thing. Try it for 7 days, like you were saying. But then as you go through the book...
And they don't even have to be 7 days in a row, is what he says,
Yes.
which I think is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if you wanted to give up drinking, you don't drink on Monday. Don't drink again on Thursday.
Yeah.
Don't drink again on Sunday. Next week, don't drink on a day, and just accumulate 7 days. Because what you're doing is you're building small wins.
Yes. Yes.
Where the other no drinking option is, okay, no more drinking. So the second you have a drink, you have failed. You broke a promise
Right.
to yourself. You feel bad about yourself. Now there's another reason to
Well,
drink.
so he goes back to my whole principle of like, why do we have to punish ourselves just because we fail or we didn't meet our expectation? We are
reframe that.
harder on ourselves. And he talks about going from drinking hard liquor to changing to wine and then going to cranberry juice, and it's a gradual process. It's the thing we talked about. I remember one of our first shows when we were talking about personal development, making changes. It can be a small shift. What's one thing that you can do today? Like, so don't even say, you don't have to deprive yourself. Like, I eat chips with lunch every day. I eat a bag of chips every day. Well, try eating a half a bag. And what I love, so it reminds me of Ed Milet. We had the privilege of hearing him speak after his book came out about his dad, The Power of One More. His dad was an alcoholic and had gotten into trouble, and it was just a very destructive life, abusive with his children, So he talks about when his dad decided to lay drinking down, he said, just for today, just for today.
Yep.
Or one more day. And then it started with just for today. I'm not going to drink today. And then it stopped, I can do one more day. And it's just, I can do this for one time. So that's what this book reminded me of, is like, it's small shifts daily.
Yes.
Every day.
Yes. And I think one of the most important things is how we speak to ourselves, and when you set yourself up in a way. So if you have tried to stop smoking, drinking, something that has a chemical and physical component to it, right? It's not just a willpower issue by any means. When you try to do that, if you've done it a few times, then you start believing you can't, even though you don't.
Right.
And I loved that about what he said, is it doesn't even have to be 7 days in a row, because I know I'm looking for a quote. What I love about the book is, although it's nothing monumental as, information, it's all information you've kind of heard before in a slightly different way. I've never heard of, I like the small win category, and I like the vocabulary he uses around it. And one of the things that I wanted to say is here it is. It says, one day, the mountain that is in front of you will be so far behind you, it will barely be visible in the distance. But the person you become and learning to get over it, that will stay with you forever, and that is the point of the mountain. So when I think of when people say, why do you climb Everest, right? It's the point of the mountain is who I become.
Yes.
Who I become in dealing with this challenge.
And the truth of the matter is,
I thought that was like, to sum up his book in a nutshell, it's sort of it's not the point that you do or don't do things. It's the point of who you are becoming in the process.
Yes. I was just trying to find out. It's when you step outside of your comfort zone. He talks about it in I think it's chapter 7, like the spiritual pump. When you do something, you're gaining confidence, and he's basically, what he's saying is, I lost my thought because I'm so overflooded. It's small steps daily in order to better yourself, reframing your mindset, aligning with your goals, choosing a different path, having the power to rewrite your narrative. Like he talks about this guy who celebrating small wins. I loved when he was talking about North Korea is like ping pong champion of the world. And this guy goes to Korea to perform, and he thought he was really good. He's like best in the United States. He goes over there and he's watching them, and instead of he was feeling overwhelmed, instead of saying I'm not going to win, and he's like, if I can just score 1 point, instead of going into something, and he said, if I can just score 1 point and I'll consider it a win. So he talks about how we have these huge goals, or we have this big vision that's way out there. If we actually break it down to smaller wins and start celebrating the smaller wins.
But I think we're so unrealistic because we have lost, this is my opinion. I think because we've lost the sense of time or how much work goes into things, because we're constantly seeing people's end results instead of all of their work. But the way we're voyeuristically watching everything, including work, we think we are seeing everything, but it is dilated time inappropriately in our head.
Well,
on the boring parts of getting stuff accomplished. The boring parts of the exciting part, the seeing people, passing finish lines of marathons, does not see the hundreds of hours of running in the dark or in the morning or at lunch or instead of watching TV and soaking your legs in a tub in Epsom salts and buying new. It doesn't show that. And we're constantly only ever seeing end results and never really seeing the boring work. So we're confused at how much
the repetition to grow the muscle
and how much time has to be put into things.
Well, I think a lot of times we don't do things because, well, I feel like we have this mindset that we can't grow or we can't get ahead if there's not pain and struggle. To me, I think all growth is uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be painful and it doesn't have to be a struggle. It's talking about, like when you said soaking your muscles, the tired muscles, your feet are calloused. And if you actually, somebody talks about somebody that's passionate about it, they don't see it as pain and struggle. It's part of growing the muscle. It's part of stepping outside of your comfort zone.
But what you don't see in it is there's actually satisfaction in having done something hard.
Yes.
Or having satisfaction in doing something you previously couldn't do. Like the first time I ran a full mile, the first time I ran 3 miles, then it was 5, then it was 8, and then it was 12.
Yeah.
Those milestones were very satisfying in a way I couldn't buy that satisfaction.
Right.
No one could put it on a shelf, and no matter how much money I had,
your
could I
value
pay
in
for
yourself goes up. The way that you see yourself, it builds confidence. It builds self and part of self-awareness. So he was talking about a runner. He talks about this guy who was 300 pounds overweight, and he decided he was going to start running, and hated running. And he talks about how
he doesn't quit.
Well, he doesn't quit, but he stopped counting. He said he stopped counting miles and minutes. And what he does is he started counting his continues. How many times he decided that he wanted to give up and continued. And that's where I got like, wow, that's the power of one more. I think I can do one more push-up. I think I might be able to do 1 more minute. I might be able to do 1 less chip. Like just making into, like if we start, how many times throughout our day do we overlook our small wins? And when he's talking about reframing, and I was like, boy, when I started first reading this, it was like, let me find it in my notes, but it's reframing your mindset. has everything to do with, and it's small shifts daily. It's building your confidence. And I was like, oh, I actually like that.
When I think about the young people not being able to date, like so many people have this hard thing about dating. And I think, yeah, because first of all, it's changed. You have the swiping thing. You never have the practice of flirting or approaching someone or trying to make small talk with a stranger or asking somebody out, learning that what made you seem, creepy or, like you don't have the practice. And so at some point, it becomes too daunting to even try or start. And I think that's one of the things that parents can not want their children to fail. They want to help their children so much that sometimes they don't allow them to build muscles of their own. And then they're getting out into college and their parent is still like talking to their professor about something. And you're like, you need to get out of advocating for your kid. Your kid should have had so much practice or this is where they get their practice for real life of advocating for themselves.
Yes.
So I think it's a tiny book. It's thin. I love workbooks. You don't have to do it. It's obviously something you don't have to do all at once. I think it's an excellent audiobook. It's read by him. But I think if you're if you've had something that you're trying to do that you haven't been able to do, like run a marathon or stop drinking or stop smoking or try anything, you transform your life in the day-to-day, but don't measure today or even tomorrow. It's measuring, like it took me 9 months when I started running. It took me a good 9 months before I thought, I don't hate every single minute of this.
Right.
I hate the first 10 minutes, and then I'm so glad when it's over.
Yeah.
But there's
feel
so
good
much
about yourself.
There's so much muscle memory because someone said, "Oh, do you like running?" I said, "I like running when it's over." And I had that feeling for the longest time.
So that's what he talks about. That's what he talks about when he talks about a spiritual pump. He talks about Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie and where he gets that after a good workout, you have that expansion inside of your body that you feel like you've done something good. And he's saying that when you stretch outside of your comfort zone to do something, you do have that. That's your spiritual pump. When you feel good, you feel like you've accomplished something and you're proud of yourself. And he's like, we need to start looking for more and more opportunities to do that for ourselves. That's what I've said before. Like, we have a duty to learn how to love ourselves. And he talks about, one of the things he talks about
But if you're always disappointing yourself, it's very hard to love yourself.
Right, because we set these unattainable goals, or we're comparing it to somebody else's life, or what we see, we're comparing it to social media.
Or someone's finished product versus your beginning project. Watching someone go to a yoga class and see someone who's been practicing for 20 years, you're judging your downward dog. Yeah, of course you're not going to be happy with your downward dog.
Right.
You haven't been doing it for 20 years. And that's sometimes, I think, one of the hardest things for people who, they're athletic their whole life, they have an injury, and then they have to come back to it because their muscle memory is, I'm a beginner again.
Yes. I think we should always look at ourselves as always being a beginner.
Yeah.
Because there's always something to learn. So he talks about limiting belief systems. And it just thought, one of the things I thought about, like, we have so many limiting belief systems that we don't even know that we have limiting belief systems. Thinking about being and changing your mindset around asking ourselves, do I really believe this? Like, I think we've said this over and over again.
Or do I still believe this? Like,
Right.
I might have believed that wholeheartedly, but
Right.
does that still
Right.
work now?
Does this serve me? So I thought about too about, well, I think about the law of reciprocity or the law of divine compensation. I think about how many blessings do we block just because of our mindset? Think about like a business owner. Sometimes business owners want to go into business because they don't want anybody. They want to be their own boss. They want to dictate their schedule. They want to dictate their free time. But then you get so immersed in the trenches and the day-to-day stress that you forget that I can take off anytime I want. I have the freedom to set my own schedule. It's one of the reasons why you went into this profession in the first place. It's one of the reasons why you decided, you knew it's not going to be easy. I think being an entrepreneur and opening a business, being an advocate for your own self, or being completely 100% responsible for your own income, we lose the blessing. We actually lose. We no longer see it. We see it as a burden instead of seeing it as a gift. And what has this hard work given me? It's given me the opportunity to be free. It's to make my own decisions. And sometimes instead of, that's what he's talking about, shifting your focus. If you can shift your mindset to say, yeah, I am doing some really hard work. I am working out of the gym. I just ran 12 miles. And I have to soak. That's an entrepreneur. That's being a business owner. That is going, there are ugly parts of running. There's ugly parts of climbing Mount Everest. There's ugly parts of just being an adult. So all those things, but look, climbing Everest, the same thing as being an entrepreneur. It's a hard journey to the top, but look at all the beauty that, look at how much beauty that we don't see because we're focused on the hard work.
Yes.
And I think about it, that's how he's talking about. If you can reframe your mindset to being like, wait, what are my blessings? And that's where he goes into gratitude. And so we're going to run out of time, but I wrote down the 10 things, what happens when you start living in gratitude. When he talks about, number 1, you have an enhanced mood, enhanced happiness. Number 2, stress decreases. Number 3, improved sleep quality. Talks about how important sleep is. Number 4, better relationships, strengthening relationships. You're looking for connection. You increase your resilience. It's actually making you stronger. Greater optimism, enhanced self-esteem, better physical health, increased empathy, and number 10, noticing more good things.
We got it in.
Yes.
You're listening to Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can always watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as YouTube, and we're always up on Spotify. Stay tuned. We're going to go to the top of the hour, and then we are going to have Dr. Brooke come on from Crossroads Chiropractic, and we're going to talk about how the physical and the spiritual and the mental are all connected.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Broadcasting from 200 Main Street in the beautiful and historic Masonic Building. This is WSMN 1590 AM and WSMN 95.3 FM, Nashua. Streaming live at WSMN.live.
USA Radio News. I'm John Summers. The number of Americans applying for first-time unemployment benefits is up. The Labor Department says it received 210,000 initial applications in the week ending March 21st, 5,000 more than the previous week's unrevised number. The White House says Iran's looking for an exit out of the war. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says since the U.S. has taken out Iran's military, it's clear to them now's the time to talk.
Their ability to attack American and ally forces, as well as their ability to defend their own territory, is dwindling literally hour by hour.
Leavitt said if Iran does not deal, the U.S. will only ramp up its military offensive against them. The Pentagon's preparing to send more troops to the Middle East as the war with Iran rages on. Richard Ingalls says, according to multiple reports, troops with the U.S. Army's 82nd Airborne Division will be deployed.
The announcement came as President Trump in the Oval Office said he's already won the war.
Well, I think we're going to end it. I can't tell you for sure. I don't like to say this. This war has been won.
About 1,500 soldiers from the division based in Fort Bragg are expected to be sent. The White House points the finger at Democrats as the partial government shutdown drags on. Democrats rejected a Republican proposal to reopen the Department of Homeland Security with only partial funding for ICE, and instead offered a counter-proposal Wednesday.
For the Democrats in Congress, the cruelty of this shutdown is the point. Nearly 500 TSA officers have quit since the Democrat shutdown began.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says Republicans have already offered plenty of concessions with regards to ICE. President Trump says he may call up the National Guard for more help after deploying ICE agents to some airports. One person's dead, 4 firefighters recovering from minor injuries in connection with a Bronx apartment building blaze this morning. Flames could be seen shooting out of the roof. The cause is under investigation. From America's News Network, USA Radio News.
Business owners, are you paying high phone bills for old school systems and lousy service? StrongTel cuts your phone bills in half and turns every phone you own into a feature-rich business system. Sean Roddy, CEO of Hennings Brothers Drilling, had this to say: "We've been a StrongTel customer for over 10 years. It's great, and even includes an intercom with video to our equipment yard. I can watch live from anywhere with my smartphone. I'd recommend StrongTel to anyone. Never miss a customer call again with your StrongTel business system. StrongTel is a proud iTex partner and always welcomes your iTex dollars. You'll get